everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for How She Does It. On this show, we talk about all things women, money, and power. I'm Karen Feinerman. I've come to the conclusion that not taking risks in business and in your career is very risky. It seems like it isn't, but in fact, it's one of the riskiest things you can do. And if you don't fail, you haven't taken enough risks. My guest, Pinky Cole, says it with a lot more flair. She is the author of the new book, I Hope You Fail. 10 hater statements holding you back from getting everything you want. You may know her best as the owner of Slutty Vegan, which is now a $100 million vegan food empire with 8 locations, maybe even more now, I'm not quite sure. She's not a trained chef, and she's never had a business plan. But she once told Business Insider, sex and food are the most pleasurable experiences in life. And if you merge them, you have a recipe for success. Before we get to the interview, I want to make a quick announcement. Our podcast is now on YouTube. Subscribe to the @HerMoney channel to get notified when new episodes come out. And make sure and comment and like the episode if you like it. Pinky, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I know
Happy to be here.
you just had a third baby, so I know you got a very busy schedule, so thanks for making time. So
Look, I make a joke. I change like 20 diapers a day.
that's a
So you can
productive baby.
imagine.
All right. Tell us your backstory because it is an amazing one and the arc of it is just incredible. From the beginning. Tell us the
Ooh,
Pinky
the
Cole
very,
story,
very
the
beginning.
very beginning, the
This
birthday.
feels like therapy. I like it.
Yeah.
So I was born to Jamaican parents. The day that I was born, my father was being sentenced to 30 years in prison. So I was getting my freedom and my father was losing his. And while my other siblings got to experience the joy of daddy home, I never knew what it felt like to be on American soil with my father. So I grew up in a single parent household. Yes, I had older brothers who thought that they were daddy. But essentially, life was a lot different for me from, the people that I grew up around. Everybody had a second parent. I only had one. And what I envisioned is that this was my normal because I didn't know anything different. I watched my mother work about 14-hour days, whether she was working at McDonald's, working at a payroll company, and working at a bank, and then would go home and focus on her passion project, which was being a singer, a lead singer of a reggae band. So I saw this unicorn right here, which was a perfect example for me because it gave me the drive to want to be great and not just be good enough, right? And then I learned from my dad, who was serving time in prison, that no matter what your situation or your circumstance is, as long as this is clear, you can rise above any situation. So I literally got the best of both worlds. And I put these things together and I became like the ultimate hustler. I was selling candy. I was selling frozen cups. I was selling McChickens. I would go to McDonald's and buy them for $1 and sell them for $2. But what I learned, I didn't learn it then, but I didn't realize that I was prepping and preparing myself to be this entrepreneur. So I was really good at it. And when I graduated from high school, I decided to pack up my Dodge Spirit and put all my clothes in there. And I decided to matriculate at Clark Atlanta University. So here I am, the first person in my family to ever go and complete college. I'm in a new world, a new territory. I see all of these people who look like me, who have nothing in common with me, which was an opportunity for me to really just dive in and build relationships. And I did that. And I started befriending a lot of people, building relationships. And my college career is what really set the foundation for me being an entrepreneur because at that point, I started doing hair, I was making myself known, and I was building all of this time. Like I can tell you this now, Karen, because like I'm looking back at my life, but I believe that my story was already written. And
Uh-huh.
because it was written, I was just going through the phases of life to get there. Long story short, graduated from college, took a job teaching, and I hated being a teacher. I hated going through that process. So after 5 days, I quit. And I didn't even realize that I was cutting those losses early, but I quit that job, went to the airport flat broke, me and my dog. And this guy from Southwest Airlines asked me what was wrong with me. And I started crying, and I'm just like, I'm over here stressed out. And he said, I'll be right back. This man came back, and he gave me $240 to get me and my dog
Wow.
Rudy home. And the
Oh
rest
my
was
God.
history. After that time, I said, everything that I put my mind to, I'm going to love it. I'm going to be intentional about it. And I'm not going to do it because because other people told me to do that. And I ended up moving to LA with a duffel bag, a suitcase, and $250. Became a producer by mistake and was so good at it that it got me the opportunity to move to New York City. And while I was in New York, I was working as a producer, got the opportunity to work as a producer at the Maury Show. And while I was there, I got an opportunity to open up my first restaurant. And it was called Pinky's Jamaican American Restaurant. And boy, was that a ride. But I was
And now,
there.
did your mom, did she teach you how to cook?
No.
No. Okay.
You know, it's funny because I grew up in a Rastafarian household. So my mother, I've never, when I tell you this lady is so natural, I've never seen her wear makeup. I've never seen her wear earrings. She does not shave. Like, she's a very natural woman. And I've never seen her eat anything outside of fish. So she's very like Ito, organic. Like, that is the kind of woman that she's been. That's the only way that I've known her. So like, I grew up with a certain conscious way of living. So I like to say I had the cheat code. You know what I mean? So when I opened up this first restaurant, I'm selling oxtails and jerk chicken and curry chicken, and I didn't eat that food. So full circle, I wasn't in alignment. That's not what I was supposed to be doing. The universe didn't want that for me because I wasn't being real with myself. And I know that might sound deep, but the reality of it is that wasn't the purpose that I was supposed to be walking in. And as a result of that, I lost everything. So in 2016, I had a grease fire. I had just left my restaurant and I went home and the fire department called me and told me that my business was on fire. Right.
Oh, so you go down there.
It was the worst experience ever. I'm the person that has always won everything that I put my hands on. Like, I'm the person, I'm going to go get it. If I want it, it's mine. Right. And I sacrificed my 20s in this business. And in my sacrifice, I realized that like I was putting so much into the business that I wasn't focused on the backup plan. And because I wasn't focused on the backup plan, I literally lost everything. My car got repoed. I got kicked out of my apartment. I went flat broke. I was in a bad relationship at the same time. So like all of these things are tumbling down on me and I could not figure it out. And I'm a problem solver. And I don't know how many people are going to be watching this, but especially if you are a go-getter and you do what you say you're going to do. I could not figure it out.
Did you feel like giving up? Did you ever lose your faith in yourself and your ability?
I did for like 5 seconds because I'm human, right?
Right.
And, Karen, what I want people to know when they hear my story is that I am imperfect. I'm imperfectly perfect. And things happen in my life. People see the lights, people see all the great things, but I struggle sometimes too. I'm human too. I cry sometimes too. But at the end of the day, like, I live to fight another day. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do not give up. And because I could have given up and threw the towel in, I didn't. And because I didn't, I got an opportunity to work as a television producer on a show called Iyanla Fix My Life. And that literally saved my life because how ironic is it that I'm going through trauma, I'm going through what felt like a depression, and I get to work on a healing show that helps people with their own trauma and their own depressions. I'm like, God, you came at the right place at the right time,
So you really felt like this was a divine intervention.
It was a divine intervention, which is why I believe that the story is always written, whether you like to believe it or not, whether you go through a breakup or not, whether you lose a business or not, whether bad things happen or not. The story is already written, and you just got to get behind the driver's seat. And that's literally what I did. Now, my eyes wasn't all the way open, okay? Like, it was blurry. My vision was blurry, but guess what? I was still driving. And because I was still driving, I got this opportunity, and I walked away from everything. And I got the chance to build back up my money. My wages was getting garnished. I got myself out of the eviction. Like, I really made a 180. And I felt like God was preparing me for something. So at that time, I started running 5 miles a day, reading a book every day. And people thought that I was crazy. And I'm telling you, I was preparing for something. I just didn't know it was going to look like Slutty Vegan. And here we go. We get to Atlanta. They asked me to work in Atlanta to be on the show temporarily. And I did that. And while I was in Atlanta, I got the opportunity to be with the guests. And I was in my 2-bedroom apartment, and Slutty Vegan was born.
What happened in that apartment that gave life to Slutty Vegan?
Light bulb. I had a light bulb moment.
Okay, literally.
Sometimes people feel like it got to be this whole, you said it in your intro, a business plan. I didn't have none of that. I ain't had no business plan. I was just sitting back, to be honest. I was smoking some weed. And I was smoking weed, and I came up with this idea, and I'm not a smoker. This is just one of them things. Let me try that. And I tried it.
And Slutty Vegan literally just came out the clouds, no pun intended, right?
Right. All right, slutty, obviously that's a word that's kind of, that's provocative. It's, you don't hear it often. You don't mistake it for other places, for sure.
Yeah.
Slutty Vegan is about, what is it about exactly?
Slutty Vegan is a concept that helps people to reimagine food in a way that they've never experienced it. So when I created this concept, that wasn't the mission or the motive. I just wanted to get some vegan food for myself because I didn't want to eat a side salad and fries from Chick-fil-A all the time. I wanted some food on a late night that I could love and appreciate. And at the moment, at that time, there weren't a lot of people interested in veganism. Historically, veganism is something that is a rich white lifestyle, and that's just what, society tells you. So I literally came in the space to break that notion and tell people that it don't matter what you look like. It don't matter how much money you make. Veganism can be available for everybody. And I am being the resource to show people that it can be accessible. And that's literally been the mission. I took this thing from a shared kitchen to a food truck to now over a dozen brick and mortars, all with the mindset that I want people to know that you ain't even got to be vegan. Just incorporate some new items into your lifestyle and it'll make the world a better place. I know that sounds cliche, but it's the truth.
So our producer Haley, she goes to the Fort Greene location. She loves Slutty Vegan. Her husband, who is a carnivore, absolutely loves it as well. It's comfort food for vegans, right? Yes. Which is something you don't pair together. And I guess it comes to your, sex and food, and what's better than that?
Yeah.
So you've made this empire, and then one of the great restaurateurs and businessmen of the U.S., Danny Meyer, comes along and wants to buy a stake in your company. What did that feel like?
I didn't have time to feel. I'm going to be honest. When I don't know, and I pray that this happens for you if it hasn't happened already. There's not many people in life that can say that their wildest dream has come true, right? So because my wildest dream has come true, all I've been focused on is the dream and building the dream. And because I've been so focused on building the dream, I've gotten so many accolades, so many accomplishments, so many achievements. But I've been so head focused, head down, okay, in the trenches, working and making it big that I really didn't sit down to get present with the fact that I had the biggest restaurateur in the world wanting to invest his dollars in my business. Now that I sit back and I got time to really think, I'm like, damn, this is real. But that just tells you that great people recognize greatness, right? As long as I continue to stay focused, more greats like the Danny Meyers of the world will continue to recognize all that I'm doing in the community, all that I'm doing to change the narrative about vegan food and provocative words. So Danny is a great mentor. He is a great success story. And I hope to be better than him when I reach to his level. And I'm sure that he'll laugh and agree with me.
Yes. He's the kind of guy that would love it. He would love it.
He would love that.
People he invest in can be even better than he is.
Absolutely. But I'm excited. I really got some good people on my team. I got him. I got Richie Ludenis, who leads Rich New Voices. And, it's little old me from Baltimore, who come from Jamaican parents, whose dad did 22 years in prison. And I've gotten more opportunities than somebody probably would get in their whole entire lifetime.
It really is. It's an amazing story. So you got Danny Meyer, you got some other amazing people in your life, your husband, right? Yes. How did that come along?
Interesting story. So you remember when George Floyd riots, all of that was happening. Somebody broke the windows out of his restaurant when they were protesting downtown Atlanta. And obviously he's a startup company. It affected him. So he went on the social media to talk about what happened. So because I'm a community change agent, it's only right for me to reach out because he's an entrepreneur just like me. So I reached out to him and I asked him if he needed any help, if he needed some support. And, men are prideful. Yeah. And he was like, no, I don't need no help. He was like, but, it's so nice to meet you. I've been watching you from afar. Would love to connect with you and see how we could just find some synergies to just work together. And we went to my favorite vegan restaurant. And when I tell you, it was love at first sight. And I'm like, I'm like, this is the one. Like, I'm going to date him. We had so much in common. Like,
Uh-huh.
we both had startup companies. We both do a lot for the community. We both are go-getters. We speak the same language. Like, I'm a grizzly bear. When I say grizzly bear, like, I'm a go-getter. He is too. And I'm just like, okay, I can do this. And
Mm-hmm.
every day after that, we have been inseparable. And what I like about my husband is that even in moments where I slack off, because I'm human, he'll pick me back up and vice versa. He'll hold me accountable just like I can hold him accountable. I never have to turn it off because we're in the same field. So what turns him on in business turns me on in business. If my business dips a little bit, I'm trying to see his numbers so that, I can compare the metric and vice versa.
Uh-huh. So there's a great irony, of course, in his franchise, which is very different than yours. Big Dave's Cheesesteaks,
Yes.
and the Slutty Vegan pairing, you probably wouldn't have thought of that. And yet here you are.
Yes.
So you got to go to your place, not his, if you're going to have dinner together.
So it's funny because I can eat dinner anywhere, right? So I'm the girl that I'm going to go to the restaurant and say, hey, can you bring the chef out so that he can make me something to eat? So like we never have that problem. The thing is that I like about my husband is that even though we have two different dietary lifestyles, we could coexist in the same space without judging one another. And I'm happy about that because not many people can say that they can do that. We literally have two empires between us both. That's a lot of generational wealth to unlock. So like I let him do his thing and he lets me do my thing. And he even comes over and supports me with some of my recipe development because my audience is not the vegan. My audience is the meat eater. So I need the people that go to his restaurant to come to my restaurant and enjoy the food. But we work very well together. He's my friend first. And he cooks for me all the time, so I like it.
Well, what you just said is really, it's just dawned on me as part of the genius. And like every great idea, after you hear it, it's so obvious that the meat eater is your customer as well. I mean, a very different take on what a normal vegan franchise or restaurant business plan would look like.
Yeah, it's
Came to
very
you. It's just,
different, which is why we are a leader in the space. Because even though the people don't come to Slutty Vegan because I want good vegan food, they come to Slutty Vegan because they want good food. You know what I mean? And as
Yep.
long as the food is good, then they'll keep coming back again and again and again. And we've seen it time and time again. Sometimes, Karen, I look back and I'm like, this is really my concept. Like, I really created this. This really started as an idea right here. And now I'm a leader in the vegan space. When you talk about vegan restaurant chains, you gotta say Slutty Vegan. You can't have that conversation without putting us in the mix. And that tells us that we're doing something right. So, we did a McKinsey brand study, a brand equity study, and basically broke down what the business is. A little over 70% of our audience, they're meat eaters. So what
Really?
that told me is, wow, like we are reaching a different audience, which is why, when in retrospect, Slutty Vegan is so necessary to the world because it's not just a pushing agenda kind of business. This is a really good restaurant with really good food, and it so happens to be vegan.
So you don't isolate all those couples that are, all right, he's carnivore, she's a vegan. He's like, I'm
No,
not going to a vegan place.
no,
He
they
can't.
they love
That's
it. People love it.
yeah.
They want to see what the hype is about, and it's just cool to see how people,
Yeah.
just take on to the brand.
Let's get into I hope you fail. I just get it. I get what you're saying. But tell us the message that you are trying to give people in so many areas of their life, business, personal life, everything.
So I did the commencement speech at Clark Atlanta University, and man, first of all, that was a big deal because I was the youngest commencement speaker, and that was my alma mater. So it was just great all the way around. But my topic was I hope you fail. And what I talked about is my story and how there came a time in my life where things didn't work out the way that I wanted to work out because I didn't have a plan, but it really wasn't my plan. God had a bigger plan. And all the tribulations that I've been through and all of the bad experiences, now that I look back, I realize that they weren't bad at all. They were just opportunities for me to be able to understand and find the lesson in the what now I look at now is the blessing. So at that commencement speech, my messaging to them is it's finding the aspiration in the losses. It's not failing. We're going to go through shit, right? Like life is going to life. And
Right.
life is not going to always be easy. But how can you rise above the ashes and find out why you're going through what you're going through? Sometimes you got to sit in the pain. right?
Mm-hmm.
Because sitting in the pain sometimes teaches you how to never feel like that again. You ever had something
Mm-hmm.
happen in your life and you're like, all right, this don't feel good, but guess what? When I get over this, I'm never going to do this again. I'm never going to
Mm-hmm.
go back here again. I'll never
Mm-hmm.
feel this kind of experience again. And that's literally what the book talks about, right? We
Mm-hmm.
want certain things to happen so that we can learn how to be smarter, how to be better. It's just like a baby that got to learn how to walk. A baby starts crawling, then they walk, and then they fall. And then they walk a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more, and then they fall again. And then the more
Mm-hmm.
they fall and get back up, they get
Mm-hmm.
stronger. And the stronger that you get, you build your momentum, you build your strength. And that's exactly what happens to us in life. So that is the universal message about I Hope You Fail. There are chapters in there like,
Yeah.
I hope your boyfriend,
Yes, I
yeah,
hope he cheats on you.
I hope he cheats
Yeah.
on you. Yes.
Yes, that was the one I was
Um,
thinking of. Tell us about that.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've been in enough bad relationships to know that it only gets better. And if you don't learn from the last relationship, then we got a problem. I hope that job doesn't work for you
Mm-hmm.
because there's a better job or a better opportunity or even entrepreneurship waiting for you on the other side. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? I hope you don't get the job, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's always light at the end of the tunnel. So if you lock in and realize that you have to reverse engineer when bad things happen, you'll
Mm-hmm.
understand that you can shape the narrative of positive things happening in your life. And it's like an art and a science to it. So when bad things happen to me, Karen, I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to learn from this?
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to know so that I can continue to maneuver and not get here again? Or if I get here again, I know how to handle it. That's literally
Mm-hmm.
what it is. I don't want you to fail. But if you
Right.
do fail, here are the tools that can help you navigate through what society tells you that failure is.
Right. Well, so I love the book. One of the other things that, you have some very sort of practical information, like, okay, have insurance, right?
Get the damn
And,
fire insurance.
right, get the fire insurance. This is from when your restaurant burned down. And, okay, so that's incredibly practical insurance. That's
Yes.
something that's not going to happen again.
It's
Just to
never
your
going to
point,
happen again.
right. That's never going to
Ever.
happen
You know
again.
why? It's so funny. Even down to so the insurance and my wages got garnished after I closed that business because I didn't know that you had to close the accounts out. I was so green. They didn't teach us
Mm-hmm.
that in school.
Uh-huh.
So now that I have Slutty Vegan, I have the insurance, I got the accountants, I got the lawyers, I got everything that I need that I don't have to be behind the eight ball. And nobody ever wants to be behind the eight ball, especially when it's a business that's doing well. But I feel like that was the springboard. Having that first restaurant and losing it all
Mm-hmm.
was the springboard for me to prepare myself for this multi-million-dollar brand. Because otherwise, I probably wouldn't have known and I probably would have fumbled the ball with this business because I didn't have no experience.
Mm-hmm. Another part of your life that I know has been so important is giving back. And in preparing for this, I watched a video. It was of a number of students. Clark and I, we come back full circle to where you went to college, and you had paid off their student debt.
Yeah.
And tell us about how you thought about that, and then how did you deliver that message? What did that feel like to let them know you were doing that?
I cried more than they did.
Yeah, they were crying. Yeah, I mean, they were clearly. I mean,
I
it
cried.
was like a gift from heaven for them.
I cried more than they did. Man, I was just talking to my friend, and I was talking about how I witnessed my mother help everybody around her,
Mm-hmm.
and she didn't ask for anything in return. She just wanted to help. It felt good to be able to be a steward to people. So I became my mother. I do all of the things that my mother do. Sometimes people take advantage of it. Sometimes they don't. But being able to put these people in a better position because they were in financial imprisonment
Mm-hmm.
was really good, man.
I
It was
bet.
no, like
It's
I'm thinking
life
about it
changing.
now. Yeah, because like you never know people's backstories. One person came from Houston, Texas, and his mother spent her last to make sure that he went to school, and that he
Mm-hmm.
was going to have to walk away from it all just because he didn't have $3,000 to close out of his account. Do you
Mm-hmm.
know what that means to be able to put people in a better position? Like that to me, that's money, man. That's gold. And it
Mm-hmm.
feels so good. And I'm so happy that I could have done that. And you actually gave me an idea. I think I'm going to do it again because I
Uh-huh.
realized the impact that it had
Mm-hmm.
on so many levels, on the people that came, on the institution, on me,
Right. On you.
on the idea of just being a steward on my foundation. So it's a win for everybody, and I'm just so happy that I got to do it.
It was amazing. Amazing. All right. So you talk about sort of learning from your mistakes. I hope you fail. But one of the best things we can do in life, I've found, is not just learn from our own mistakes, learning from someone else's mistake, which is a whole lot cheaper than learning from your own. But is there anything that you learned from a mistake that maybe your parents made or maybe a friend made, where you saw somebody do something and like, wow, I will never do that?
I will never, ever take my hand off the wheel. I have a multi-million-dollar business. I also have children. So after 2 years of like being in the business and running it day to day, I decided that I wanted to get out of the business. But in my getting out of the business, I really got out the business. Does that make sense? Like I went
Mm-hmm.
on and I'm still like in it, but like at the highest level. I went
Right.
from touching everything, knowing where everything was, everything that's happening, like, and that was important to me. So when I stopped doing that, I saw the shift. And I'm not saying that my company wasn't running properly. What I'm saying is like the essence of my being was missed. And when I look back full picture, I realize that it does not matter how big you get. It does not matter how much money you get in the bank, how much notoriety you get. Never take your hands off the wheel, because you put yourself in position for somebody else to grab it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so happy that I learned that lesson early on. Now I'm fully back. I'm back in my business. I'm locked in. I know
Mm-hmm.
where everything is. I know what's happening. And like, it feels so good because one, I fell back in love with my brand. Two, I know exactly what's happening in my brand. And I don't have to have somebody speak to me about what is happening in my brand. And a lot of startup companies go through that. Like, this burnout is real. Founders get burned out, so they want to step back and take a break. But
Mm-hmm.
you also just have to be mindful and prioritize what's important, because if you take your hand off the wheel at the wrong time,
Mm-hmm.
everything that you work for, you could lose.
So one other thing in your book that I loved, it was a quote, which is that I might get it a little bit wrong, but the gist of it was, the sky is not the limit. There is so much more above the sky. So what is beyond the sky for you? I mean, you've already come so far, but it does not sound like you are the type of person to rest on that at all. So what is
I don't know
next?
what's beyond the sky, but what I do know is that anything beyond the ceiling that I shatter gotta be great. If it's great this much right here, imagine when I get here, right? So like, I'm striving to continue to elevate myself. And Karen, I promise you, I'm not talking about money. This has nothing to do with the dollar. This is about the aspiration and the inspiration of it all.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Mm-hmm.
about showing people that a person who looks like me, walk like me, talk like me can have everything that he or she wants, as long as they lock in and believe in themselves. So that ceiling, I see it, but I got a
Mm-hmm.
hammer and I'm going to break it. And once I
Yeah.
break it, I'm out of here, and it's world domination. That's the kind of vibe that I'm on. And I hope that the people that are listening to this and watching this really understand that it is so important not to limit yourself. Even if people call you crazy, even if people tell you like, all right, that ain't going to work, that's not a good idea. F y'all, I'm going to continue to do what it is that I want to do, because I know that I got that je ne sais quoi, right?
Yeah.
And that right there, everybody has it, but everybody don't know how to unlock it. But I truly believe that I've unlocked mine, and it only gets greater later. So whatever is up there, I'm coming for
Mhm.
it.
So, Pinky, has your mother been able to see this success that you've had
Yes.
and this extraordinary path?
Okay, so I'll be totally transparent. So at first, she used to get so excited. She used to cry about everything. She sees me in the New York Times and Washington Post, and she was
Uh-huh.
crying all the time. Now,
Uh-huh.
I've set the expectation, so it's to be expected. My daughter is a go-getter. It's to be
Mm-hmm.
expected that she's in these magazines. It's to be
Mm-hmm.
expected that she's successful, because I know that my daughter is going to put the pressure on herself to be great. So now,
Mm-hmm.
when big things happen, like I did Karen Kelly Clarkson the other day, and she watched the
Uh-huh. Oh,
interview. She
great.
was like, okay, and then she went on, and I'm like, Ma, like, show me some respect. Like, did you happy that you saw me on TV? She was like, I expect this. So
Right.
that tells me that, okay, it's time to elevate. But the
She
biggest
believes
feat,
in you. That's what that
she
is,
believes
right?
in me, so
A
she knows
complete.
she's not surprised.
Right.
But the best feeling in the world is to know that both my mother and my father still have breath in their lungs to watch their
To
daughter
watch.
make it to a space that they could have only imagined. Remember, I told you that my mother is the lead singer of a reggae band, right? So she wanted to be a superstar too. But
And
now she
yeah.
can be a superstar through me. And that feels so good.
So I know you said this wasn't about the money, but clearly money does give one a lot of things. What did you do with that first money where you started to feel, all right, I really have enough money? What did you do? How did that
I
feel?
don't have enough money.
You don't have, okay.
What is enough money, right? Like,
Right. Yes. Yes. I
you
remember
know,
my first bonus I got, and it was $6,000, which was enormous to me, absolutely enormous. And I bought this super great stereo, and it had a 5 CD changer, which I thought was the coolest thing. And I don't think I've ever gotten more joy out of anything that I've purchased than that first time that I could, buy it for myself.
that's funny that you said that. I have a story like that. Oddly enough, I still have not done anything nice enough for myself that I could sit back and be like, oh, my first purchase, because everything that I make in the business, I reinvest it in the business. So like I don't take dividends. I put myself on payroll up until recently. So I want my business to win so much that like I reinvest everything. Like I am an employee to my own business. Do I need to do something nice for myself? Yes.
Yeah, sounds like it would be good
I
and
do.
fun.
I do a lot of speaking engagements. So like I love experiences. My income obviously and my husband's income goes to real estate. That's like a fun purchase. Like I love buying real estate. We got over a dozen properties. And I like to travel. Traveling is I'm the girl. You want to talk about travel? Like I want to just travel the world and just lay on a beach. And I want to be in tropical spaces. But if I'm by the water, that gives me the opportunity to just breathe. So like my first kind of purchases was just buying experiences and buying real estate.
All right, that's something. That's a lot of things. 12
Yes.
properties. That's a lot. So, okay, here we go. Just would you rather? Just answer the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay, here we go. Baltimore or Atlanta?
Batlanta.
Okay. Fussy hussy or one night stand? What is it about the fussy hussy over the one night stand?
I like the pickles.
Okay.
Yes.
Chanel or Gucci?
Gucci.
Take risks and fail or pursue easy wins?
Take risks and fail.
For sure, yes. Cook an elaborate meal at home or grab takeout from your favorite spot?
Cook at home.
Would you rather be a VIP at a concert or courtside at a game?
VIP at a concert.
Beach or mountains? I think you just said
Beach.
would be the answer, yes. Okay, would you rather, I know what you're going to answer, I think. Would you rather have fortune or fame?
Fame. Can I tell you why though?
Yes, of course.
And this might sound like a very odd answer. The fame will bring me the fortune.
Okay, that makes sense, right?
The fortune can bring you the fame, but in this instance, in these days, anybody can make a living off TikTok, social media. Like it's easier than it was before. The fame will give me the eyes, will draw in more customers and more revenue to continue to grow my businesses.
And your fortune. I actually thought you were going to say both, that you would not accept needing to do one or the other.
I like both.
Yeah.
Both are great.
Okay. Would you rather open a restaurant or a bar?
A bar at this point.
Okay. Do you prefer fiction or nonfiction?
Nonfiction.
Okay. What are you reading right now?
I love documentaries. Documentaries are my thing. What else do I like? I just read Rich Dad, Poor Dad again.
Again. Okay.
Yes, that's kind of like my blueprint. And Relentless by Tim Grover. That's a really good book.
Okay. What is something that you've changed your mind about in the last year?
That I wouldn't have kids no more, and that I had another job.
Well, that must have happened right at the beginning of the last year because, okay, last two. What is the best investment you've ever made and the worst investment? An investment could be anything. It doesn't need to be a stock. It could be anything.
The best investment I ever made, a Sprinter.
A Sprinter?
Yes.
A Sprinter van?
A Sprinter van. Because we have 5 kids between the two of us. And we got a lot of family. So when we travel, we do not have to bring multiple cars. And I want an RV eventually. So this is like the first step to getting an RV. That was my best. And my worst, a condo. Two condos actually that we bought fully furnished, and we were told that like it would make a lot of money, and I ain't made a red cent from either one of those condos, so I'm just paying it with no tenants in it because nobody wants to live there. So that probably was the worst.
All right, that's not terrible. Okay, that was the lightning round. Pinky, thank you so much for spending the time with me. It's a fascinating conversation. I love just seeing the arc of your story, and there's so much more to go. Where could our listeners find you?
You can find me on all social media handles at Pinky Cole. If you want to donate to the foundation, it's at Pinky Gives Back on all handles, or you can go to pinkygivesback.com. Or if you want to learn more about Slutty Vegan, at Slutty Vegan ATL on all social media handles, www.sluttyveganatl.com. And if you want to learn about my new project, my new passion project, American Sesh, you can find more information at www.americansesh.com.
Okay, that's a busy woman for sure. Thank you so much, Pinky.
Thank you.